Hey everybody, welcome to Talking with Yhari. My name is Yhari. And please welcome my guest at this time, Leslie Jackson. Right. What city were you born and raised in, and how was your life during the 60s?
Well, I was born right in Detroit, Michigan, and I guess it was average lifestyle. According to the times that it was, things a lot different now. But yeah, it was pretty good.
What were the main issues during the civil rights era?
The main issues, well, a lot of the stuff that's going on now, being suppressed by the police. By the area we lived in, it was predominantly white when my mother first bought the house over that way before I was born. And as the area started changing, we would get harassed a lot by the police. And they had what they called the Big Four, where they had 4 police officers in the car. And they'd ride up on you for no apparent reason and jump out on you, and tell you better not be there when they come back around the corner. If you are, you got a beat down. So that was one of the things that we had to look out for. So,
Can you tell me a personal story during the civil rights era?
a personal story?
Yeah, like something with like something that got to do with like the civil rights era. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, well, I mean, it's quite a few things. I remember when Martin Luther King was assassinated.
ooh, that you just don't tell me that one because that's one of my questions. So just tell me another.
Tell you something else.
Yeah.
Okay. I remember the riot, the '67 riot. I remember. Wow, I got a lot of memories of that, and some of them are painful. So just like on the first day of the riot, my oldest brother was there when they raided the after hour joint, and his picture's on the front page of the paper the following day. He was on the front page of the paper. Just showing him walking across the street. This was before the National Guard even came down and put martial law into play. I remember that well. I remember a friend of mine, actually it was my god brother, the National Guard shot him. They said he was looting, but actually he wasn't. He was out after the curfew, and all the National Guard were white. And they rode around in jeeps and tanks. They had machine guns on top of the jeep, and on back of the jeep and on top of the tank. And they saw him out after curfew, and they shot him. They grabbed him by his ankles and they drug him down to the corner in front of the cleaners, and put a bunch of clothes in front of him. Said he was trying to steal those clothes when they shot him, but that's not what happened. So I mean, it was a lot of, they try to say that it wasn't black versus white and white versus black, but
Right.
it really was.
Who was the president back then?
At that particular time, in '67, it was Lyndon Johnson.
Lyndon Johnson. Who was that?
He was the one, he was President Kennedy's vice president. When President Kennedy got assassinated, he stepped up and became president, and then he was reelected in '64.
So yeah, 4 times.
No, actually, because he became
right.
president in '63.
Right, yeah.
Because Kennedy was assassinated in '63, and then the new election was in '64.
Right.
So actually, he was elected in '64.
Right.
And his term started in '65, January '65.
Was your family affected or harmed during these times?
Yeah, we definitely was affected. I mean, I remember the National Guard being on my porch, shooting up at the apartment building across the street. Was a sniper on the building across the street from us. And I remember we had to go hide in the basement, because of all the shooting.
Right.
And a lot of that still plays heavy. And, I can hear shots now and I flinch. It's like being in war somewhere.
Right.
I can't say I got PTSD.
Right.
But sometimes.
Still traumatizing.
Yes, yeah.
What caused the riots in Michigan?
The cause of the riots really was, we were tired of being oppressed. And see, that wasn't how it started, but everything was accumulative, and this was like the last straw.
It was built up.
Yeah, because actually what happened when it started, the police was just going to go right after our joint. That's what it was. And back then, people didn't have air conditioning like we do now.
Right.
So it's 2 o'clock in the morning. It's still real hot outside. So most of the people that lived down there by there were still outside, either in their windows or on outside on the street front. And when they see the police coming down and bringing all these people out, and they was upset, let them go. They throwing bottles and bricks and stuff at the police.
Right.
And so they called in for backup. And when they called for backup, then, people steadily bombarding them with stuff. And that's how the riot, actually took place. But really, it was finally we got a chance to get back at them because they've been doing it to us for so long.
Right. How do you think Detroit was affected by the Civil Rights era?
Well, actually,
as a whole.
Actually, I don't know. I really believe a lot of the stuff that happened was pre-planned to happen like that. It was pretty much like something like gentrification. What they did, what we played into their hand.
Right.
We played into their hand because the stuff that we burned up was where we lived.
Right.
The places, the shop where we shop. We shot ourselves in the foot. But some good things came out of it too. But right now, long range, we're paying for it now because a lot of the stuff that went down or deteriorated, they never fixed up.
Right.
And by them not fixing it up, now they coming back, doubling back, buying it cheap.
Right.
And
in 2019.
Exactly.
Going on 2020.
Exactly. And now they're coming back to take it over.
Right. That's ridiculous.
They didn't come back. We got a black mayor. We got our first black mayor in 1973.
Right.
From 1973 up until now when Mike Duncan was elected, we've always had a black mayor. As soon as they got a white mayor, now you see all the whites coming back.
Right.
So, and a lot of us are getting tricked into saying, well, it's not getting right until we got a white mayor.
Right.
But actually, they wasn't allowing it to get right because they cut our funding on a lot of stuff. They cut our services on a lot of stuff. A lot of streets, wasn't getting trash picked. A lot of streets didn't have street lights. A lot of street was ill repaired. They let a lot of the houses fall down. And so who's going to move over there? Nobody.
Exactly.
So they can come back and buy whole blocks for pennies on the dollar, fix them up. Now, now they done raised the price so high that we couldn't go over there even if we was just driving down the street. It might be a gated community now. They don't even let you in. So, we fell for it was like 3-car Molly and they, we picked the wrong car.
Right. What was the racial climate during the Civil Rights era in Detroit?
As far as what black versus white, well, it was. I remember. Man, I remember a bunch. I remember as a teenager standing on the corner of Finkel and Greenfield, which is predominantly, matter of fact, which is pretty much all black now. But back then, it was predominantly white over that way. And I remember waiting on the bus, and I remember the whites used to ride past and throw beer bottles at them. You niggas get back down there in the jumper, And I'm like 14, 15. A lot of places that we go now, which is predominantly black, are pretty much all white. This area over here was predominantly white at that time. there's a lot has changed from then to now.
It's crazy. Have you ever been in a segregated town? If so, what was your experience?
I mean, what now?
Yeah.
You know, this is segregated. You know,
Born in Detroit.
it's been like since I was born. You know, first we was in Black Bottom,
Right.
and then as our parents prospered, they moved further this way. Well, a lot of them moved east, and then Black Bottom was predominantly east. Then they moved further west. So yeah, I watched it change because, like I said, when I was born, where I was at was starting to get a 50-50 mix, and then I watched it as it changed. Because when my mother then first moved over there, I think they were like the second black family on the block, and now it's all black. So yeah, this town has been segregated since forever.
Where were you when Martin Luther King died? Describe how I felt.
Well, actually, when it first when I first got the news, I was going to Federal's department store on Grand River and Greenfield, matter of fact. And I was in the TV department, and it just happened to show up on the news. And you know, I was feeling a certain kind of way, you know, because at that particular time, I was 12, getting ready to turn 13.
I was just about to ask you what was your age, so you answered that question.
Yeah, I was 12, getting ready to turn 13. And I was going to buy some knee pads because I was getting on my junior high school basketball team.
Right.
And back then, knee pads was, you know, that's what we wore back then. You don't see guys with them on now. But I had already got my Converses, you know, but I was going to get some knee pads from Federals. And I stopped and saw that on TV. And so when I got home, me and a couple of guys, because the private building I was telling you about that had the sniper on top of it during the riot, which was the year prior, that private building was, matter of fact, not predominantly, it was all white. It was a lot of whites that moved up from West Virginia and Tennessee, you know, from the hills, and they were coal miners. And so they were hillbillies. So, you know, it was always a clash between us and them. So when Martin Luther King got assassinated, we tried to set the private building on fire, right? But we wasn't successful.
Have you ever been down south? What was it like racially?
Well, yeah, I went down there once. At that time,
Was it recent or?
No, I mean I've been down there since then. Yeah, but I'm talking about as a child. I went down there because that's where my mom was from.
Right.
And we went down there to visit with her family, and the school I went to, man, my cousins that I had never met, and they were a couple of years older than me, and I went to school with them a couple of days, and they were in the same class, the same grade that I was in, and you know, the teacher steadily asking questions, and I'm steadily raising my hand because I knew all the answers, and I didn't realize they that much older than me, and didn't know what I know, and then and it seemed like everybody in that class was older than I was, so I knew then that they must not be trying to teach them something, you know. They were being held back without their knowledge probably, and definitely without their permission. You know, if you could only do what you taught, and if I don't teach you nothing, you don't know nothing.
Right.
And it was surprising to them that, how you know all this, how you know that? And I had it maybe a year or so before the stuff they was asking me. So I realized it probably hadn't even been presented to them.
Who did you agree with more, Martin Luther King or Malcolm X, and why?
Well, originally, I agreed with Martin Luther King simply because the household I came up in, we were Christian.
Yeah.
And so the lessons that I got coming up was, you know, to be humble and things of that nature. And
I'm Malcolm X all the way.
Yeah, but see, you come up in a different time.
I know, but
but actually, don't get me wrong, I kind of converted, not all the way to Malcolm X, You know,
But I agree with both of them.
Yeah, because they both had great philosophies.
Yeah.
Actually, they agreed with each other. They agreed
Right.
to disagree, and they could disagree without being disagreeable.
Right.
You know, it wasn't like they were fighting against each other. They were just had a different way. It's just like that Rosa Parks Transit Center downtown. Exactly. You know, down there where the buses go.
Uh-huh.
You know, all the buses go to Rosa Parks Transit Center from all different angles, right? Mm-hmm. You know, some come down Woodward, some go down Linwood, some come down Gratiot, some come down Mac, Grand River, Linwood, wherever. But they all trying to get to the same place.
Right.
That was the same thing that was with Malcolm X and Martin Luther King. They were trying to get to the same place. They just went down, came from different ways.
Right.
And so they just came from a different direction. But they still was trying to get to the same place. And so as I progressed, actually when I got around your age, they started a chapter of the Black Panthers here. And I joined that. So my philosophy started to changing.
Right.
So I wasn't all the way Martin Luther King, but neither was I all the way Malcolm X either.
Right. Malcolm X believed blacks should live in total separation from whites to receive true liberty and freedom. Do you agree? I personally agree.
No, I don't. I don't agree with that. I don't agree with that. The reason being because as much as I'm so accustomed to living around all black now because, you know, I'm really not one for going someplace that I'm not wanted.
Right.
But the thing is, we need everybody to get, because they got some stuff that we gonna need.
Right.
We got some stuff they gonna need.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just like now, just like say United States versus China. I mean, you know, they make a whole bunch of stuff that we gotta use. Mm-hmm. We got some stuff they gotta have. So we got to be amicable where we can, you know, but if it's always me against you and you against me, I'm gonna hold back on some stuff that I'm not gonna let you have that you need.
Right.
And the other way around. So yeah, we need each other. So ain't no sense in thinking that we can get along without each other.
I guess. Did you know anybody involved in any Kinks marches, Montgomery bus boycotts, Nation of Islam, Black Panther, or SNCC?
Yeah, student for SNCC. I remember that.
SNCC.
That's what it was. A student for nonviolent. I forget what it was for, but I remember that because, matter of fact, I was right around your age when that became prominent. I was like 12, 13, 14 when that came out. But I remember it. But yeah, I did know. I know some Black Panthers, like I said, because I was like a junior member of one, because like 13, 14, 15, no, I was like 14, 15. And we had marches. We marched. I remember we marched from Central to Northwestern when I was in high school. And then we recruited the people from Northwestern to come and march with us. We were going to go down to the Kennedy Square, which was downtown. But actually it was too far for us to go at that particular time. Because like I said, we were still young teenagers.
Right.
You know, but yeah, I knew a lot of people that was, you know, into that. But also, your great granny. That would be a person that you can really get a whole wealth of knowledge from, because she was real instrumental.
And Dabe?
Yes.
Wasn't she a Black Panther?
I'm not sure if she was a Black Panther, but I know she was in the Shrine of the Black Madonna. And
what's that?
It's a black church, but it's also like a black organization. And that's how come her name was Ndame. That's her African name, which is your mom's middle name is her African name. Your uncle Ndegwa, his African name. Yeah, she has a wealth of knowledge because she was very political. She was she worked up under Coleman Young when he was mayor. She worked with Bob Ficano. She's been in the politics and she knows a lot of what was going on. She's a wealth of knowledge, you know.
Right.
And yeah, she would that would be a person that you really would benefit from talking to.
This the last question. Wait, this is not the last question. Which assassination affected you the most? Martin Luther King, JFK, or Malcolm X, and why?
I would say, wow, it's hard to. Malcolm X didn't really affect me because at the time when he was assassinated, I didn't know a lot about him. I didn't know a lot about him till after the fact.
Right.
And when I read his autobiography, I think I was in the 8th grade. I think I was in the 3rd grade when he was assassinated. But they made it known when JFK was assassinated, you know. So I knew about that immediately. I had just turned 8 years old, and when he got assassinated, and then when Martin Luther King was assassinated, like I said, I was started to become a teenager,
right?
And I was starting to become conscious of a lot of things, you know, because I mean, even though I was young, I knew what was right and what wasn't. Right. You know, like probably now when in school, they probably sit y'all in alphabetical order. You know, I remember being in school when all my teachers was white, and they sat us from light to dark. Well, all the light kids that looked closer to them, they would keep them closer to them, and the darker you got, the further you sat in the back.
Right.
So you know, I had feelings about all that even back then. And then when things started changing around, then that's when the white teachers that were the ones that were more like the hippies, and then when it became cool to be around blacks, now they want to, you know. And so a lot of my teachers would take to me. Matter of fact, one of my teachers bought me a lifetime membership to the NAACP. You know, because I guess they felt like, you know, they want to give back, or maybe they just wanted to be accepted,
right,
or whatever. I'm not sure, but I noticed the turnaround.
Yeah. Now, this is the last question. When the Civil Rights Act was passed, were you satisfied with the racial progress in America?
No, not at all, because even though they said civil rights was passed. Even though they said it really didn't have any teeth to it, because, I mean, you know, it gave us the right to vote, but then they still made it where we couldn't vote, you know. If your grandfather didn't vote, then you couldn't vote. You know what I mean? It was all kind of stuff that still kept you held back. So even like now,
it don't satisfy me one bit. Black people still getting killed by the police.
Yeah. And see, the first thing they did, they put us against each other.
Right.
And the first thing they say is, this is black on black crime. But who else can you commit a crime with except for somebody that you have access to? Right. If I'm not out there in Bloomfield, then I'm not going to commit a crime against somebody from Bloomfield.
Right.
You commit what it is to who you around.
Right.
Because the people out there, if they don't come down here, when they kill somebody, it's white on white crime, but you don't hear that. If you go to Southwest Detroit, it's Mexican against Mexican, you know what I'm saying? So you tend to beef with who you're around.
Right.
And it's not so much that we're against each other, but they pit us against one another, and we fail for it.
Every time we do.
We fail for it.
Even now, in 2019
even now. And it's the Willie Lynch syndrome all over again, you know, put the dark against the light, the tall against the short.
Conquer and divide.
Exactly. And we fall for it.
Thank you so much for your time. This was a nice interview. Thank you.
Thank you.